We have given the necessary initiative, the necessary resources on our own, without the necessary control from the national leadership. This has always been the crying needs of the time.
My father, I would say, personifies a person who is a uniter. There were no kidnappings, I would say, at the time, less killings, less intrafacidal, problems that we have. There was no disunity, more or less, at the time. As head of the LTP9 and as executive director of Office of the Regional Commissioner, my father was like an ambassador of goodwill. He goes to the different provinces, cities and municipalities, cities and towns, and even abroad. He travels abroad. And this is the person who made an impact, where he presents his views that there should be unity among Christians and Muslims. Because this was at the height of the rebellion of the MNLF, where the government would try to, lure the MNLF. He made a difference. There was an impact with what he did. Because my father is a very clean politician. Can never find that kind of leader nowadays. And this is something personal. My late father died. He did not have anything. 25,000 pesos in his bank account, where he handles millions upon millions of pesos. My father came at the right time, the right moment, the right place, and at the right environment. I would say my late father was destined by God.
Ulbert Ulama Tugung is one of the brightest political figures ever to rise in Western Mindanao in contemporary times. He was a school teacher, newsman, technocrat, civic leader, lawmaker and politician whose career blazed with eminence and piousness. Declared a province through presidential decree. Councilor Tugung was appointed a provincial board member and for 3 months concurrent OIC mayor of the greatly reduced Basilan city. When his term as OIC mayor ended, he was named deputy governor to the military governor. He was also officially designated as military governor advisor until a civilian governor took over from the provincial government a year later. Board member Tugung was a prolific, energetic legislator. He sponsored 174 resolutions and ordinances during his 1.5-year term. He designed the provincial government seal, authored the provincial hymn, rebuilt the local electric system, and caused the implementation of artesian wells, roads, school buildings, and other infrastructures. He twice revised the local government tax codes. Through his representations, the provincial land boundaries were delineated anew, until finally the small Basilan city was absorbed by the province and Isabela municipality came into being. He initiated legislative measures to promote and protect the fishing rights of municipal fishermen and spearheaded a long list of civic action missions and peace dialogues in the hinterlands and islets of Basilan. The 4 years of Chairman Tugung's first term was a time when Western Mindanao witnessed a rapid construction of infrastructure facilities and social and cultural improvements. With his office's budgetary resources and executive authority, Chairman Tugung's dream of a progressive and peaceful Region 9 was evolving into reality. Hundreds of rural health centers, madrasas, mosques, bridges, roads, piers and markets and recreation facilities were simultaneously under construction. Museums and archives were built in Sulu and Zamboanga City. The autonomous government started construction of the Astana Kasanyanan, or Palace of Peace, the Batasan Pampuok building, and the development of the Sultan Sharif ul Hashim Government Center. The supreme politician has become the supreme builder.
We lost a lot when Bob, my husband, died. You know, it was a great loss, not only to his family, but also to his people, the whole region, I think. I remember him telling me oftentimes in the past, since he started his public life, that there was so much to do and so little time to do them.
He was a man who was able to convince his brethren, his fellow Muslims. There were a lot of commanders that my late father was able to convince to return back to the folds of the law. And there were also a lot of Christians who were against the policy of the government that my father was able to convince to join him, to join hands with him in trying to establish peace and order in this particular region, in Region 9. It just shows the man who he is, always out there serving his people, regardless of their tribe, their creed, their ideology, their race, their religion. He was a very fair man.
He was born on November 10, 1939 in the village of Malasa in Bongao, Tawi-Tawi Island, then part of the province of Sulu. His father was Haji Pangalampas Tugung, his mother Hadja Naraja. Growing up by his politician grandfather's side, Ulbert finished his elementary education in Tubig Indanan in Simunul, a valedictorian, then went to Notre Dame Tawi-Tawi for his high school. He took up and completed his Bachelor of Laws at the Zamboanga AE colleges.
When he was a young boy, he was really very good, kind and obedient to me and his papa, Mr. Tugung. He was fond of playing and racing a small bangka with a sail which his grandfather, Panglima Sawari, made for him. I was a good native dancer, and Bob Tugung, as a young boy, learned to dance with me. Every time he did that, all the people watched him instead of me.
When he was a student, he was already showing signs of leadership. And I can remember vividly that in every program that we had, he was always a participant.
He loves his people, just like he loves his family. And I think that is the key if you want to become an effective leader. He never neglected us. He never abandoned us. Despite his 24/7 schedule, he was always with us. And that is the same thing that equally he gave to his people in Region 9. He protected the helpless civilians. And one thing that stand out in my mind is the Pata massacre incident. It's an area somewhere in Olo where people, living in that area, they were supposed to be massacred by the military. And my father, without fear or favor, he went there. He brought his forces and he fought hard. It was a situation where he could have died, but he was there to defend the civilians in droves. He was able to bring them back to the mainland in Zamboanga, and some of them right in the town of Holo.
The late Bob Tugung was a politician of rare caliber. He was talented and tenacious. He had indomitable willpower and an overwhelming self-confidence to succeed.
Well, he's a fellow who is not boisterous, who doesn't boast of anything, and he's very sensible. The way I see, he's well educated. He is a charming guy. You can deal with Tugung. He is not the kind that boast or talk something loud, which he cannot prove or what. But I know he's got a good mind. He's intelligent.
My late father is an educator. Not only that, including my mom, is also an educator. That is why they are well-grounded when it comes to education. They're out there always educating their people regarding unity, regarding public service, regarding peace, all of these values.
Manginanakta niyo ay school, pasaranta na sa bablong ta, yat turamastal bayaran sin parinta, bukod biyat to. In school, dua parkala. School di, laong niya formal education, in mga mastal maghindu ha mga nakta niyo, iban school Hawaii, informal education. Bang in school Hawaii, iban school di magkugdan. Kontra in pag-advise, pag-hindu sin mga mastal, Iban sin maumas, amo na in bata mangiin kasungan niya. For together we fought for the preservation of freedom, the territorial jurisdiction of our country. We fought during the American regime, the Spanish regime, down to the Japanese regime. And it is for this reason we are bound together by history, that we could not separate ourselves from our brothers in Luzon and Visayas. But if for any reason we are opting to be autonomous, it is because of our desire to free ourselves from the clutches of people from Manila. We want to challenge the national leadership that we can undertake projects and programs if we have given the necessary initiative, the necessary resources on our own, without the necessary control from the national leadership. This has always been the crying needs of the time.
A few weeks after he was reappointed chairman of the Lupon, Chairman Tugung for the first time met with the head of the Moro National Liberation Front, Nur Miswari, in Sakul Island near Zamboanga City. They informally discussed the issue of peace in Mindanao, a peace that had eluded the chairman in a decade and 5 diplomatic missions abroad, to the Middle East in 1981, Iraq in 1982, Bangladesh, Saudi Arabia, Jordan, and again in Iraq in 1983, and as a member of the Presidential Party to Saudi Arabia and to the Dawa Conference in Kuala Lumpur later on. Chairman Tugung organized the Cory Aquino Movement for Good Government and gave vent anew to his ideals of public service. On November 22 last year, he convened the Mindanao Leaders Forum, which he had just organized to lobby for Mindanao's much-needed development. In that meeting in Manila, the articulate Lupon chairman asserted and echoed the Mindanao people's clamor for better life and a more equitable share of state power. That night, he and his personal secretary, Ani J. Jumani, were shot dead as they stepped out of their hotel.
His legacy defies ages, defies generations. Whether it be in the 50s or 60s or 70s, 80s, whether it be in the 2020s, 2050s, he will always be relevant. Why? Because of the kind of leadership that he brought or introduced in people. The life story of my late father, I would say anyone could be very proud of it. They will get highly motivated, they will get inspired. When my father was still alive, he kept on preaching forgiveness. This is the kind of leader who is a very forgiving person because he embraces even those who betrayed him, even his enemies. So when my late father died, that is the same principle and values that I and my siblings, including my mother, have continued. We have forgiven them, we have moved forward, and that is the very reason why in life, my siblings and I and my mother, we forge ahead, continue the legacy of my late father in preaching unity, peace, because that is who he is as a person when he was at the height of, I would say, his success. So I know when he died that he is at peace, he is with God, with Allah.
Bob was a loving and understanding husband and father. He had such a warm character. He loved the music, and he was almost always, with the laughter on his face. And if there was anything, his home and his family were his greatest comfort and joy. He always looked forward to coming home and being with the children. And of course, many times he had to be away